Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I received some packages from Ugreen. They sent me a complete portable off-grid system, I guess you could say. It is a 600 watt solar power station and a set of two 100 watt solar panels. And so I am going to be tearing into this stuff to see what it's all about, because just looking at this box, if this solar power station can do half of the things that this box says it can do, I will be impressed. So let's get to it. Okay, I usually don't do this, but let's just look at what the box says that this power station can do. First of all, it's 680 watt hours of battery capacity, and it has a 600 watt inverter. It also says that it has something called U-Turbo, which can support devices up to 1500 watts. Now, I'm guessing that they have to be able to play with the voltage and the amperage to be able to pull that off. So we're definitely going to be trying that out. Also, it has something called Power Zip, and so it can charge this up to 80% in 50 minutes. So that's another thing that we're going to try out. Because it says it has EV-rated lithium iron phosphate batteries inside. So these aren't just lithium ion, they're lithium iron phosphate. So that means that we're going to get 3,000 plus cycles out of this thing. All right, if we look at this side, it says some of the features. One of the features is a child safety lock feature. So if you have this in your campsite, you can set that up and no little children can go around messing with all the settings. It has a built-in MPPT solar charge controller for solar panels. It has a 0% emergency mode. So I'm guessing that if this thing completely dies, you're still able to do something with it. Maybe you turn on a light or maybe plug in something to charge up your phone. Well, check it out. It also says that it is upgradable with over-the-air updates. It also has a UPS function, so this can be a UPS, and it has a switchover time of 10 milliseconds. And also, this thing can be controlled via an app on your phone. Let's go ahead and open up this box and see what we're actually looking at. All right. When you first open up, here is the handle. Let's pull out this piece of foam right here. Nice big thick foam for protection. And here is the power station right here. So let's go ahead and pull that out. And then there looks like to be a box with the accessories. Before we go looking at the power station, let's go ahead and open up this box of accessories and see what is inside. All right, in this box of accessories, we have a little bag. This is actually, I like this because this bag is going to hold all the wiring that I need to use this along with the solar panels that I'm going to be reviewing as well. Let's see, and we have a cord. It looks like a, well, I'm not sure what size that is. I think that's a 5521 cord. So we have this cord. We'll find out what it's used for. We have a cigarette lighter adapter. So it's a 12 volt cigarette lighter adapter to a XT60 connector. Let's see, we have the AC plug, and you'll notice that there is no brick. All you need is the AC plug. Let's see, we also have the user manual. We have, oh, look at that. Ugreen 5-year warranty. I like that already. And then it has all the customer service information on the back. 5-year warranty. Okay, you can't beat that. Can't beat that at all. And then last, it looks like we have a XT60 splitter. So this is going to be how I'm going to be connecting the two solar panels to the power station. All right, excellent. And then let's go ahead and open up this bag. There's nothing in the bag except for a little tiny thing of poison. But we can put all of our wires in here. Look at that. And it zips right up. That's what I'm talking about. That is nice. I like that. Okay, and now the power station. Okay, on the front we have a light. We have a nice screen right here. We have 4 ports. We have 2 USB-Cs 100-watt power delivery ports, and we have 2 USB-As that are rated at 22.5 watts. So those are quick charge ports for USB-A and a couple of 100-watt USB-Cs. We have an on-off button. We have, it looks like a button called IoT, and then a button called DC. And then we also have 2 outputs for the 2 barrel plug outputs. It says 12 volts at 10 amps, so 120 watts max. And then we also have a cigarette lighter adapter, so you can plug in your like your DC refrigerators into. All right, on this side we do have a looks like a fan, an intake fan, and then we have 5 AC receptacles, which is nice, and then a button right here to turn the AC part of it on, and it does say output 600 watts max. The back is nothing. This side is looks like the input for the fan, and then all your inputs for to give it power. You have your here's a connection to be able to ground it. Here is your MPPT connection for which is a XT60 connector right there, and then you have your AC connector right here, and you have your overcharge protection right here. So it's basically a little button that you can press just in case you need to reset it. And I like how it has this little cover, so it kind of protects everything. The top has a fixed handle, which, you know, honestly, I like power stations where the handles fold down because it's easier to store stuff on top of it. This, you know, if you're trying to put something flat on top, it's not gonna stay on there. So that's just one thing that I noticed, that I'm not really a fan of fixed handles, but that's all right. And then also, it does not have any kind of wireless charging on top. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and just pull out the AC plug. I'm gonna plug it in, and we're gonna charge this thing up to 100%. That way we can get the capacity tests out of the way, and we can start testing the unit, testing the ports, and see what this thing's all about. Okay, we've got our AC plug, and they're just wrapped up with little pieces of rubber, so that's kind of nice. And these cords, I like these cords. They're not stiff. This is very flexible. So, I don't feel like any of these cords are stiff. The rubber is actually kind of soft. So let's go ahead and take this off. Plug it in. And we're just going to plug it straight in and see what happens. Okay, it's plugged in. Oh, it turns on. Let's see, it was at 29% battery capacity when we first opened it. And it does show that we are charging with 600 watts, and it's going to take 56 minutes to charge it up. So it's kind of nice. On this screen is nice. I like this. But it does show that it's here's the inside, the input wattage, the input side, and here's the output side. So we have 600 watts going in, And then here's the output side, and it shows how much output in watts and also the number of hours that I'm guessing that you can run that output. And then all of a sudden it looks like a little fan icon just turned on. And it might be ramping up a little bit, but I cannot hear this fan at all. But yeah, I feel a little bit of air blowing out of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and let this thing, we're going to let this charge up. And I'm going to go ahead and open up one of those boxes for the solar panels so we can kind of check that out real quick. So while the power station is charging up, let's go ahead and open up this solar panel and see what it looks like. All right. And it looks like we have a box with maybe some cords in there. And just like the power station, this has very thick styrofoam to keep it in place and to protect the corners. Very nicely done. I like it. And then we also have a good sized solar panel user manual. It does look like it's in a lot of different languages though, so we'll look at that in just a few minutes. And then a very, very small book that says user instruction. Okay, so let's open up this. All right. And there is what it looks like straight out of the box. It says right here, output port. And then this looks to be, oh nice, like a stand. So let's go ahead and just see if we can just pop it. Oh yeah, very nice. Okay, this, first of all, there's how thick it is. Hopefully, I'm sure I'll be able to find some dimensions somewhere, but it's all magnets. The stand is magnetic, so it stays. Oh, is it magnetic? Yep. Yeah. So see, look. So the stand will stay in place, and then the handles, everything inside is magnetic as well. Oh, geez, yeah. And so there's what the whole solar panel looks like. It looks like it's 4 different panels. Okay, so starting from over here, it says 100-watt solar panel, and then it says Ugreen right there. And these panels are nice. I need to find out what kind of material it's being covered with, but it feels really nice. I know that. And then over here, what I like, look at this. This actually is one of those solar panel guides. So you can tell by the shadow of the sun if it's right in the center. If there's a shadow right in the center of that little circle, right there, that means that you are in the optimal angle. So it's an installed angle guide right there. That's pretty nice. And then the whole thing just folds up and clicks back into place. And there are 2 stands, one on this side and one on this side. And then this little output right here, and it's like a rubber seal, and that is where your XT60 connection plugs into right there. Okay, and some of the information about the solar panel, it shows that the working voltage is 5.27 amps. The short circuit current is 5.5 amps. And then also the standard working voltage is 19 volts. So you're looking at 19 volts by 5.27 amps. But the open circuit voltage is 24 volts. Okay, and then the little box that came with the solar panel is, let's see what we got here. We have a couple of cords. We have the XT60 cord, or cable, and it looks to be right around 6 to 7 feet long. It also came with an XT60 to MC4 connector. And also, the one thing I noticed about that solar panel, it does not come with any kind of way to charge up anything via USB. A couple other solar panels that I've reviewed, it does come with like a little box that you can plug a USB device into it and charge it directly from the solar panel. This solar panel is dedicated only to charging the portable power station. Okay, I was just looking at the little tiny user instruction on here, and there's really no user instruction at all. It's FCC statements, it's IC statements, it's important WEEE information. It's also EU Declaration of Conformity, the warranty information. It says it has a limited 2-year warranty. I guess a UK Declaration of Conformity. So this little thing has nothing to do with user instructions that I was thinking it would. Okay, and then also the user manual is actually it's only like 4 pages, but there are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 different languages. So that's why the user manual is so thick, but it's a very simple user manual because there's not really much to say about solar panels. It shows you how to unfold it and set it up on its legs. It also shows you that you should connect it. You need to connect it with the XT60 connector that it came with. It does say that to get optimal power out of it, you need to use the solar alignment tool that's built into the solar panel. And then it also says that if you have 2 solar panels, you connect them with the branch connector that came with the power station. And then it just gives you the specifics. The folded dimensions are 21.3 inches by 15.4 inches by 2.4 inches. And so that would be 21 by 15 by 2.4. And then unfolded, it's going to be 54 inches long. Yeah, it's going to be 54 inches long by 21 inches high and 1.2 inches thick. Okay, I just came downstairs. I'm just about to go to work, but what I want to do is start the AC capacity test because this thing has been charging overnight. It definitely didn't need that much time, but I went ahead and just let it go. As you can see, it's at 100%. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this little AC watt meter right here, and we are going to plug in a old-fashioned 100 watt light bulb. And we're going to see out of the 640 watt hour capacity what we get. So let's go ahead and start the test. Okay, the test is running. We can see on the front of the screen what it shows as in what the usage is. And you can see that it is saying that this light is using 95 watts. The meter that I'm using is saying 97.5 watts. And we have a timer running, and so we'll know by that. So we'll know what the time is, and we'll also know what the total watt hour consumption is. So I'll come back when this is done. Okay, well, I just got home from work. This battery, this portable generator by Ugreen has been running all day on AC. The light is turned off, and so we are going to look at the capacity to see what we have. And what did we say? That this capacity is 680 watt hours. So let's look what we have. and it looks like the capacity is 517 watt hours. And if you do the simple math of dividing 517 by 680, you get 76%. So it has 76% efficiency on the AC side, which isn't really the best in my book. So that's what we're looking at. So I'm going to go ahead and charge this back up, and then we're going to do a capacity test on the DC side to see if it's any better. Okay, I've got the battery charged back up to 100%, and I went ahead and I started the DC capacity test. What we're doing is we're using the 12 volt cigarette lighter adapter, and we've got it plugged into my my battery tester down here. And what we're doing is we are running it at 4 amps, and we have a cutoff of 8 volts, which should be fine. This test will probably take, it'll probably take 4 or 5 hours, something like that, maybe longer. And it's only pulling 52 watts. So actually, if it stays like this, it'll take like 10 hours. So I'm just going to let it run, and I'm going to come back down tomorrow morning, and we'll see what our results are. Okay, well, I just came down here and I noticed that the power station is dead once again, so the DC capacity test is finished. So let's go ahead and look at the laptop to see what our capacity is. Our capacity is down here, and it is 548 watt hours. 548 divided by 680 equals 80.5% efficiency, which is better than the AC. And I'm happily surprised that it's a little bit better, because if you look at the line, I mean, you can see that the voltage line, the blue line, it's regulated. It's regulated. It was keeping up at 12.55 to 12.6 the entire time. It scribbled a little bit at the very end. But that you expect some efficiency loss when you have a regulated DC output. So getting 80%, that's pretty good for my book. And another thing, while this power station is dead, it does say that it has emergency mode. So even though, here, let's look at the screen. Even though this thing is completely dead, see, it's like there's no light on the DC output right there, we should be able to turn it on. Yep, it says 0. But emergency means that you can turn on the light. Uh-oh. Let's unplug it. I wonder if it's like super dead. Oh, look at that. And there we go. So even though this thing is at 0%, we can still turn the light on. And wow, and you can actually use all the modes. Oh, there's our SOS mode, perfect. And as you saw, there are 4 types of modes for the light. There was low, high, flashing, and SOS. And it says that we can also use the USB ports to charge up a phone. So let's go ahead and just plug in a USB-A port here. And I'm gonna go ahead. My phone doesn't need charging, but I'm gonna go ahead and just plug it in to see if it charges. Okay, in the instructions, it actually does say, when powered on, press and hold the DC power button and flashlight button for 10 seconds at the same time to enable this mode. The light button and the DC button at the same time. And there it is. You can see that our DC ports are now on. So let's go ahead and plug this in. Plug in my phone. And actually, yeah, you can see we're fast charging. And if I plug it into the USB-C port. And now we're super fast charging. So they are running at full speed, even though this is on emergency battery mode. So that is excellent. Okay, now that we got that kind of tested, I don't like leaving this thing at 0%. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug it back in. We're gonna get this thing back up to 100%, and we're gonna run some other tests on the other ports and see what else this thing can do. Okay, now that we have the capacity tests all done, let's go ahead and look into the features and the abilities of this Ugreen power station. So I went ahead and downloaded the app. It's available for Android and Apple, and there is a QR code right in the book. Right in the manual, there's a QR code. That's what I used, and it just pulled it right up. Super easy to install. And so let's go ahead and pull it up on the screen so I can show you what you can do with your power station. This is what it shows when it first comes up. And I like it. I mean, I like, look at there's like little meteors like going on the screen. That's a nice little touch. It just shows that they put a lot of thought into actually making this app. But let's go ahead and dig into it. Right off the bat, it shows you the state of charge of the power station. So if I turn it on, yeah, 100%, the app shows 100%. It also shows your total input, total output in wattages, and your discharge time, which right now is at 99.9 hours because it's not doing anything. You can also manage your devices, so you can turn on the AC and the DC, and you can also turn on and off your USB ports. And then there is also the flashlights where you can turn on each individual selection of flashlights. So if you only wanted your SOS or strobe, you can hit strobe and the light starts strobing immediately and you can turn it off. So that right there, that's pretty impressive. I like that. Let's go ahead and look at the settings, which is on the upper right-hand corner. Okay, we have our operational modes. Let's see, in operational modes, if you select, you can select on standard mode, power saving mode, and always on mode. Let's go ahead and cancel that. Let's see, if we click on U-Turbo, let's see what happens there. And it brings up a little description of what each section is, which I really like. It says, after turning on U-Turbo, the AC output can support devices with higher wattages. So we'll be trying that in a little bit. If we do battery preservation mode, what it does is it stops charging at 90%, and once it gets down to 10%, it shuts off all the AC and DC devices. So that way it kind of saves your battery from getting into those ranges where it starts to kind of deplete the battery faster, like age it faster, I guess you could say. Let's see, we have quiet mode, and quiet mode, it makes it so it charges slower. So instead of charging at 600 watts or something like that, this thing can charge up in less than an hour. But if you have it on quiet mode, it probably will only charge at about like 200 watts. Okay, you also have your audio tones, which right now is on. And so if you press a button, you can hear the beep of the button on the power station, but let's go ahead and turn that off. And as soon as you turn it off, there's no sound. That is nice. I like that. I like the option of not being able to have the beeping on your power station. That's a small feature, but I like it. So let's just go ahead and turn the tones back on. Okay, there we go. And then we have child safety lock. Let's go ahead and click on that. And it says, in this mode, buttons are locked to prevent accidental touching. So to unlock, use the app or press and hold the on-off button for 3 seconds. So that's kind of nice. I mean, I wouldn't think that a child would be messing with this very much, but it's perfect for like accidental touching. I mean, if you had this thing powering a DC refrigerator, something like that, and that's something that needs to stay on all the time, it would be perfect. Maybe your dog is over there sniffing and his nose hits the button, something like that, and it turns it off, and then all of a sudden you have hot food and you're kind of screwed for the rest of your trip. If you're using this as actually as a UPS for like a computer, the last thing you want is someone accidentally touching that AC button and your AC power just turns off. So child safety button, I like that feature as well. And then you have a self-diagnostic button, which will, I'm not going to go ahead and do it because I don't know how long it takes. But if you have any issues with your unit, you can probably press this and it will go through a self-diagnostic and test all of its abilities. And then you can actually change all the settings on the power station itself. So you can change your DC current from 8 amps, you can change it all the way down to 4 in increments of 2 amps. You can change the AC output frequency from 60 hertz to 50 hertz. So if you live in, since I live in the United States, I use 60 hertz, but I believe like in Europe, they use 50. You have your low battery alerts. So you'll get an alert when your battery gets down to a certain percentage. And then you also can change your temperatures from Fahrenheit to Celsius and back again. And then you have your help centers, message centers, and device management and about screens. There is also a setting at the top which I don't think I looked it over, but it is the shutdown setting screen. And here, if you turn this on, what you can do is you can have it shut down certain functions, either in a certain time, like after an hour, you can have them shut down a certain function, or when the battery capacity gets down to a certain percentage, so like 50%, 30%, 10%, whatever, you can have it shut down all of these, or you could say that you only wanted to shut down the DC, and you could just select, or the AC, and you could select only that the AC will shut down after that time. So this app really gives this Ugreen power station a lot of abilities and a lot of user manageable functions. And I think that is a huge plus. This is the first time I've seen this many options on such a small power station. But all these options aren't worth anything if the power station is garbage. So let's go ahead and run it through some tests to make sure that this thing works the way that they say it does. Okay, so I've got a couple of things here for some DC tests. Unfortunately, this has a USB-C 100 watt power delivery. I don't have anything that's going to pull 100 watts out of a USB-C port. Please leave it in the comments, with something that I could buy that's not like a $2,000 laptop or something like that, where I could easily test out these ports. Okay, first I'm just going to use the USB-A port, plug in my phone, and it shows that it is fast charging and it is pulling 13 watts, and it could do that for about 33 hours. Let's go ahead and use the USB-C port and plug in my phone, but it still shows 13 watts, but my phone does show that it is a super fast charging rate. And again, I'm sorry that these tests aren't the best for max capacity, but they show you that they will charge up your phones with no problem. Okay, the next test is going to be what I call the cigarette lighter, but it is, I guess it's a car DC port. And the best thing I have for this is this car vacuum. This thing sucks up energy. I want to say, I think I looked it up and it runs at 12 volts at like 8 amps, something like that. Let's go and just plug it in because I've had power stations that cannot run this at all. So let's make sure that it runs. All we have to do is turn the DC side on. There we go. And you can see a little port light right there that shows that the DC is on, and the button lights up, but the light is very, very small. But let's go ahead and plug it in. All right. And here we go. All right. Well, it ran that with no problem, and it was sucking down 105 watts while doing it. So that means at 12 volts, that was right around, between 8 and 9 amps. So the DC side, I believe you can power your DC fridges, your vacuums, because it is regulated. You won't have any problems throughout the entire life of the capacity of the battery. Next, let's go ahead and check on the AC side. And on the AC side, it does have 5 separate ports. And this is a 600 watt power station, so it can only power 600 watts. And on the app, let's go ahead and we turn on the AC, but we are going to turn off the U-turbo because I want to see what happens if we go over 600 watts without the U-turbo on. So what can we power with 600 watts? Let's go ahead and grab a heat gun. Okay, what I have here is a 1200 watt heat gun, but it has a low and high setting. So at low, it will pull 600 watts, and on high, it will pull 1200. So with U-turbo off, it might be able to pull the 600 watts because it does say that it will pull up to 640, maybe 660, plus or minus 40. So actually, let me confirm that. Okay, well, I could not find any information on the plus or minuses on the AC, but you know what? Let's just plug this in. We're gonna put it on low. We'll see if we can pull this 600 watts for, a few minutes. And let's go ahead and check the functions. You can see that our voltage is 120.7 volts out of the AC. So that is excellent. It's not a 110, it's a true 120. And we will check this after we turn the heating gun on to see if it really drops down. Here is the gun. You'll be able to hear it. Let's go ahead and turn it on low, see if this thing can actually do it. And so you can see what the screen says. Let's go ahead and put the phone right here also. You'll be able to see the total output, what it says on the power station, and you'll be able to see the output on the actual watt meter. So let's go ahead and turn on the gun and see what happens. Okay. I can see that the total output on the meter on the power stations shows 513, but on our watt meter over here it shows 565. So that's an odd discrepancy. That's like a 40 watt discrepancy, which is kind of strange. I don't know which one to really trust. But I'm gonna go ahead and let this run for a couple minutes. Oh wait, let's look at our voltage. Our voltage is still right at 120.6. It's staying stable. And our hertz are flickering between 59 and 60. Okay. That ran that 500 and, well, let's just say 550 watts. It ran that beautifully for, I don't know how long it was, probably over 5 minutes. Yeah, it can sustain a 500 watt load with absolutely no problem, and it sustains it at 120 volts, which is great. Let's go and see what happens when we push it to 1200 watts, and we'll see if it shuts down. Boom, just like that. It starts beeping, everything shuts off. It did exactly what it should do. So let's go ahead and turn this on. Yeah, the AC just turned off, so let's turn the AC back on. AC turns back on. Let's go ahead and turn on the heat gun. And again, it just starts it right back up. So it did exactly what it should. Perfect. So let's go ahead and turn on the U-turbo. U-turbo. After turning on U-turbo, the AC output can support devices with higher wattages. Please note, supported devices vary from various power station models. For more details, refer to the manual. Confirm. Okay, so U-turbo is now on. Let's see what happens now. So we're going to go ahead and just do the low setting first. And it looks like our wattage is right where it was. And what I care about is the voltage. So we're looking at 120 volts and we're pulling 500 watts. So let's go ahead and crank this up to 1200 watts because it says it can support up to 1500 watts. So let's do it. Oh, and it ranked up, but boy, this thing it slowed down a lot. And the voltage is down to 88.1 and our total output is 623 watts. I mean, the air is still hot, so I'm able to run. You can see the gun right there. I'm able to run this gun. You know, it's only running at 88 volts right now, but it's maxing out the inverter because it's giving it 623 watts. It's running it just great. I mean, it hasn't shut off with it being maxed out like this. So the feature does work, but it's not going to give you a true 1500 watts. It will allow you to power something that can pull up to 1500 watts, but by reducing the voltage of the AC output, it's only letting you actually pull around 600 to 630 watts. So it runs, but it runs at a very diminished rate. And I also want to show you this. Right now, I'm using a meter to monitor the amount of noise that this is using. Let me be quiet so you can see what it is. You know, I'm probably about 2 feet away from the unit right now, and the fan is running from all that AC test. And now let's go ahead and move it up right next to it. And it actually bumped up a little bit just because my inverter in the other room turned on. So what I'm trying to say is, even though this has been powering 600 watts for 5-7 minutes, the fan is relatively quiet. It's not loud at all, and it's not even on like quiet mode. So I would give the fan noise on this a plus. Okay, now that we know the AC works great, let's go ahead and check out the sine wave on it. So I went ahead and plugged in my sine wave. What are those called? Oscilloscopes? Yeah, there it is. I went ahead and plugged in my oscilloscope, and let's see what we have. You can see that it is a very nice, clean sine wave, and we are right at 120.7 volts. So what I want to do is actually run this whole test again with on low and on high to see what happens with that sine wave. So let's go ahead and do that. First, let's run the heat gun on low and see what happens to the sine wave. Okay, so there's the sine wave. I'm sorry, this is so squeaky, I'm sorry. Okay, so here's the heat gun on low. All right, and it looks like that sine wave has a little bit of fluctuation in it, but I am not concerned whatsoever. The voltage is still at 120.6 volts. So everything looks good on that end, and you know that we're pulling about 500 to 550 watts. So let's go ahead and crank it up to high and see what happens. Here it goes. Not bad. All right. Well, you can see that the voltage of the output on the AC side went down to 88 volts, but the sine wave still looks good. It's a nice clean wave. I mean, it's fluctuating a little bit, but it's not bad when it comes to like, a lot of freaking out, a lot of static, something like that. So I feel like this this sine wave is good whether you use the U-turbo feature or not. Okay, the next thing that we have going on here is I want to test the UPS function of this power station. Okay, so what I did was I went ahead and plugged it in. It's plugged into the AC right now, so it's charging, but it's only charging at 180 watts. Let me go ahead and just pull up the screen. Here's a screen recording. I don't know. It'll be around here somewhere. You'll see it. But it shows the battery capacity is at 85%. Recharging time is 39 minutes, and the total input is 180 watts. Now, I know that's not the input of my computer, which this computer, you've probably seen it before in my other videos, and it works great, but the battery in it is deader than dead. So as soon as I unplug it, this thing is going to shut off. And I don't like doing that because it's not good for laptops, and I actually still use this laptop, which is stupid. But I want to see what happens if this is plugged into AC. What happens if I pull the plug? Because it does say that it has a 10 millisecond transfer rate. So let's go ahead and you can see that the battery charging is going up to 86%. So let's go ahead and unplug it and see if the laptop stays on. Okay, so ready? 3, 2, 1. And boom. Total input went down to 0. Total output is now at 23 watts. So that's what my laptop should be pulling. So that's interesting. It shows zero output when you're plugged into AC. But as soon as you plug it, as soon as you take it off of AC charging, it shows an output. So that's interesting. I don't know if I like that, but it also makes it so it's not confusing. You're not looking at a 180 watt input and then also a total output of 24 watts. So you're like, okay, what am I really getting? So I'm not really sure about that. I like information. I really like to be able to see what my inputs and my outputs are at the same time. But that's just me. I think it does work. It does work very well though. So let's go ahead and plug it back in just to see what happens. Yeah, and just like that, it goes back up to charging at 180 watts, shows your recharge time, and the output is back down to 0. And just to prove that, unplug it. Again, total watt output. The laptop is turning on and off. I mean, the laptop is staying on the entire time. So the UPS function does work very well. Let's see what happens when I unplug this laptop. It should die right away. So let's unplug it. And there it goes. It's dead. So UPS function works fabulously. Okay, you can probably hear that I'm running that heat gun in the background because I want to reduce this down to like 50%. Because what I want to do is I want to take it outside with the solar panels and connect everything up and see what kind of power we can get from the sun. So once this gets down to 50%, we're going to go outside and plug up some solar panels. All right, this heat gun has been running for probably 20 minutes, I guess, something like that. Our battery is down to 42%. And yeah, if you turn it up without the U-turbo on, it automatically shuts off. There is warm air blowing out of this, but again, it is not loud. It's not loud at all. And so now it's down to 42%. I would say the 500 watt soak test, I guess you could call it. Man, it passed with flying colors. This thing, it's a little warm, but the fan is blowing out the hot air. So we're going to take this outside along with a couple of solar panels and see what kind of charge we get from the sun. Okay, well here is the Ugreen 600 power station along with the 2 solar panels that they provided for me for review. I believe that each one of these solar panels is 100 watts, and these 2 I believe are the max amount of solar that you can put onto this power station. One thing I did notice while we were carrying all this out here is the power station has LiPo 4 batteries, so they are heavier. So that is a moderately heavier power station than something that just has lithium ion batteries. And the solar panels are actually heavy. I'll put the weights of everything right below on the screen right here, just so you know. But I wouldn't want to go backpacking with all this stuff because it's on the heavy side. But what we're going to do, let's go ahead and pull up the screen for the Ugreen right now so you can see what the power shows for the app. And we're going to go ahead and plug in 1 solar panel and see what we get. Right now it is 10:30 in the morning, and it's beautiful skies, and it's about 85 degrees. So that's the temperature and the time that we're working with. So let's go ahead and hook up 1 solar panel. I'm going to go ahead and put the power station in the shade of the solar panel so that way it doesn't get overheated. And we have our XT60 connector between the solar panel and the power station. Okay, and let's go ahead and plug it into the power station right now and let's see what happens. And it looks like we're getting an input wattage of, 72 watts. So this shows that it's going to charge up this battery in about 5.8 hours. And that took me about 1 minute to set it up. That was pretty quick. And getting 70 watts out of a 100-watt solar panel is pretty good for being at 10:30 in the morning. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and connect up both solar panels. They're going to be in parallel. We'll connect it up and we'll see what kind of wattage we get there. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're now going to plug in both the parallel solar panels and we'll see what kind of wattage we get. All right, and it already is ramping up. And what's nice about these solar panels is they have a built-in solar guide. So we can actually move these solar panels so they're optimally angled. Okay, there we go. And we'll move this one to the same spot. All right, that's pretty close. Let's see what we're getting now. There we go. Just by moving the panels a little bit, we now are getting 150 watts of solar from these 2 100-watt panels. All right, and I just want to show you what it looks like from the back with everything hooked up. There is an XT60 connector right here, and it goes to this splitter, because this other connector goes over there to the other solar panel, and we have this splitter right here that goes into the XT60 connector on the side of the power station. And again, these cords are nice and thick, so you don't have to worry about them. I like how these are XT60 connectors. It makes it just really easy to connect and disconnect. So what are my final thoughts of the Ugreen PowerRoam GS600 power station and 100-watt portable solar panel? I say top notch. Before this, I had never heard of Ugreen. But after doing this review, man, they got their stuff together. everything that I did, all the tests that I did, passed it with flying colors. I mean, even the AC test where I lowered the battery from 85% to 42% with a heat gun running at 500 plus watts. It ran for like 20 minutes. That thing did not even care. It has lithium iron phosphate battery chemistry inside, so this thing boosts, 10 years of life. And also, it charges from 0 to 80% in less than an hour. I mean, we're talking like 50 minutes to get this thing from 0 to 80%. It also has 12 ports that you can plug into, and it has a 600-watt inverter for the AC side. But if you have everything plugged in, you can actually power up to 965 watts all at the same time, using the AC and all the DC ports. And also it has that U-turbo technology, which kind of it messes with the voltage and the amperage in order to enable you to power high wattage devices. Like I powered that heat gun at full blast, which is a 1200 watt heat gun. It doesn't power it at 1200 watts, but it does power it. It just lowers the voltage low enough so it can actually still power it. On the DC side, I believe that it has plenty of connections. It has a couple of USB-C ports, which run at 100 watts. And then it also has the USB-A quick charge ports, the quick charge 3.0 ports. And so there's nothing slow on the DC side. Everything on the DC side is actually regulated as well, so you can power at full capacity. I powered that vacuum, which I believe pulled over 100 watts, and it had no problem pulling that off at all. And then there's also the ability to have app control on this device. I was able to load up that Ugreen app with no problem whatsoever, and it found the device pretty quickly. And then there's just so much that you can control with the app. I mean, you can even control whether you want the device to beep or not when you press buttons. I really think that Ugreen has really thought this through when it comes to this power station. Now, some of the downsides that I see with this power station, which don't get me wrong, are very limited. The biggest one being there is no wireless charging on this device. To me, that's not a big deal because I rarely use a wireless charger for my phone because I then have to take it out of the case and the blah, blah, blah. But for some people, that will be a deal breaker. And also the handle. I wish that this handle would fold flat. That way, if you're going on a camping trip, you could set that on the bottom. It would be a nice square, and then you could set stuff on top, and stuff wouldn't be shifting around as much because the handle, it would just make things flop forward or backward. But in all honesty, that's the only things that I can gripe about. I love the XT60 connectors for when you want to plug in your solar panels. I like how it's very quiet. I ran this thing at 500 watts for 20 minutes, and the fan, you can barely hear it. So this thing is quiet, and then it also has a quiet mode. So it would make it even more quiet while you're charging it. All right, the Ugreen solar panel. 100-watt solar panel. I love the fact that there's no Velcro. It's all magnetic. And the magnets are strong. Like, it takes a little bit of force to open this thing up. Even the legs are magnetic. You don't need to worry about Velcro getting, gooped up with dirt or mud or something like that. The solar panels are actually, I want to say, well, they're monocrystalline. They say they have 23% efficiency rate. Unfortunately, I don't have any way of testing that, but they do have that ETFE coating, which makes it so they are very long lasting when it comes to just being outside. They are IP67 waterproof rating, so that doesn't mean they can sit out in the rain or you can dunk them in water, but they can handle a splash and not be affected. The setup and teardown of these panels was very fast. And also, I like how the panel has that built-in sun monitoring device, which is all it is a piece of glass with a little dot in it, and you look for the shadow, and if the shadow is in this little circle, then you know that you have it pointed towards the sun in the most optimal angle. Super simple, but very effective. When I used it, I set it up and I was getting like 133 watts, and then we moved the panels a little bit, and all of a sudden I was getting like 147 watts just by moving those panels a little bit. I mean, and that 10 watts, it adds up over time. The downfall with the panels is they are not light. They are not something that you can just put on your, on your backpack or carry around for miles on end. They are 5 kilograms each, which I believe is right around 11 pounds. And the power station is roughly 20 pounds. You know, what you're getting in quality and with the power station, because of the lithium iron phosphate battery chemistry, you're gaining a lot of weight along with that. So this is for camping, but it's not for like backpacking. So all in all, I have to say that Ugreen, I'm happily surprised with this. I usually don't praise a power station or really any device that I find, but this one is probably the best power station that I've reviewed thus far. So Ugreen, good job. And with all that being said, thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any questions about the Ugreen PowerRoam GS600, please leave them in the comments. Thanks again. Have a good day. Bye-bye.